All right, if we may, we'll call to order the Board of Finance meeting for October the 27th, 2014, 7 p.m. The first item on the agenda is the public participation.
May I speak?
Yeah.
Howard Vogt. I want to address 7C that you have here. And I think it's troublesome, so I'll just ask the question. I believe the committee was formed by the mayor and serves at his pleasure. And I believe they're going to be asking for money for the secretary, which I would think should come out of the mayor's budget rather than come here. Second thing, I've been told they're going to ask for money for an architect. It would seem that since it's money for an architect for a building the town doesn't own, it should be actually come before the selectmen. The selectmen should discuss that particular need and then run it here for your approval. So that's why I'm here. I
don't see anybody here that's going to speak to that.
I think there's something troubling about the order in which things are being done. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
You're talking about the committee that met last Thursday. What's the name of that committee?
Facility study.
7A.
You're talking about the facilities committee.
The facilities group.
Oh, you mean 7A? I'm sorry. I'm looking at 7C and I'm saying I don't understand. Okay.
Did I say 7A?
Yeah, 7A. It's okay.
Said 7C.
I'm looking at the wrong one. Yeah. But
Then I'm
the
brain
facility
dead.
study group. Okay.
No problem.
Yes, second resident participation here. Chairman Nash, in our last visit, I asked you specifically about this particular consideration by the Board of Finance concerning the capital loan here. I'll give you the original underlined so you know the language that I'm speaking of. And I'll read just the first paragraph and not itemize the items listed here. It is to consider upon the recommendation of the Board of Finance that a capital appropriation in the amount of $1,262,000 be made for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2014. It is in reference to the second item, number 9, which leads to it, to authorize the town treasurer and Board of Finance to finance internally borrowing from the ash landfill account certain capital items that were listed there as I gave you. Said borrowing in interagency loan not to exceed $1,262,000. Could you please explain to me when that authorization came and how?
I have no way of knowing by looking at this.
Well, somehow...
I think you know the answer. Why don't you tell us?
I don't know the answer.
Well, you know where you got this from.
This is the town of Putnam notice of the annual town meeting.
Yeah, it was at the town meeting.
That is the town meeting in which the budget was authorized.
Yeah.
That's the call.
Yes, so, call, meeting.
Well, this is a different thing.
I just don't understand why it says that you made a recommendation to authorize her to give the town an internal loan, but no one seems to know when it happened. This says that you were...
What was the date of the call of the town
May
meeting?
14, 2014.
Was it voted on at that time?
Yes, it was.
There you go.
That was it?
I don't know what the discussion, I wasn't there, but
You wasn't there.
I wasn't there. But I don't know what the discussion was.
Well, there wasn't any discussion, other than myself making an objection to it, because I don't remember hearing about it at any particular point in the transactions.
But you've been, and everybody in this room, I assume, has been to many town meetings. There's going to be one coming up there. But, you know, things are brought and the call for any number of things. Any number of things are approved, not approved. I've seen things go down as well as be passed. I mean, that's just what happens.
I believe I'm beginning to understand what I'm getting at here. And I thank you for your answer. I believe it's appropriate, and I understand what you're saying. So then essentially what I was really interested in is how did the recommendation of the loan be made in the first place? Meaning, who came up with the idea of a 5-year capital gain, this amount of money to be included in the budget? Somebody somewhere said, this is going to be done, and we're going to do this. Did it come from the mayor?
That's
Did it
what
come-
come at our meeting when we're going over the budget, it's the same thing every year. When the budget was presented to us,
I see, yeah, okay.
that meeting is when normally during those meetings leading up to the budget town meeting,
Okay.
we're going over the budget, we're going over the 5-year capital plan.
Yes.
I mean,
And, I think that it's basically almost the same thing every year, that part of it is
I
the
mean,
capital.
Jerry comes up with an amount with regards to roads for resurfacing or whatever needs to be done. I don't know how he got the 300,000. I have no idea. We have in that usually monies that come from the state of Connecticut that's added to it.
No, that's not
I mean,
what I'm talking about.
the bridge over Little Acres,
What
I mean,
wanna
over
know is
Little River.
how it ended up in the budget in the first place. How did someone come up with the idea to take an internal loan to balance the budget? That had to originate.
My guess, can I give you a guess?
Give me a guess.
Cheaper,
Who?
cheaper.
She's cheaper.
It's cheaper doing it this
No,
way
but-
than borrowing.
Oh, I
than
understand that, I
borrowing.
understand that.
Well, that's not a
But what
bad
I'm
thing.
saying- What I'm saying, Mr. Nash, is that, did you recommend this? Did Mr. Deary recommend it?
Wasn't.
Well, I mean,
No,
who
no.
decided that this was gonna be done? I guess it's just,
No, we've
sort of
been
collective
doing it that
conscious
way
for
for
so long,
a
that's
few
the way
years,
you just
and
do it.
who recommended it was probably the previous, I don't know, we were all sitting around talking about it.
It was a discussion at the
Whose
Board of,
idea
it was a
came out
discussion at the
first?
Board of Finance to go back to the Board of Selectmen to look into internal borrowing from the Ash landfill account.
So basically, it was cheaper.
You're
Going
Oh,
up.
yeah.
and either that or not doing it at all.
Okay.
I remember sitting around talking about it, but I don't remember
Was it-
whose idea it was
So was
first.
there a vote by it? Was there a motion and a vote by it?
I don't know.
No, the
No,
way
there
it is
wasn't.
that the budget was presented by the Board of Selectmen. Incorporated in that was a 5-year capital plan. Under the 5-year capital plan, there were certain projects that the Board of Selectmen had recommended be included in the 5-year capital plan. Then you get to the point of how do you pay for it. So the recommendation is to go to the internal fund for the Ash landfill account to borrow from that account for the 5-year, this year of the 5-year capital plan, and then pay less, or 1%. And then that gets forward to the Board of Finance. The Board of Finance signs off on the budget. Then we come up with the implementation language, which is the language that you see that was passed by the town
So
meeting.
essentially, it originated in the Board of Finance.
No,
I'm sorry, in the Board of Selectmen.
By the Board of
The Board of
Selectmen.
Selectmen. It was given to them essentially by their signature or just saying, okay, and then it became
Well,
more or
they
less-
sit around, they discuss the
They
budget, and
discussed
they
it, yeah.
determine,
Mhm.
and some input gets into what goes into the 5-year capital plan,
Mhm.
and then that's incorporated into the recommendation from the Board of Selectmen, and pass it on to the Board of Finance.
But they don't vote on that specific item? I mean, it is an extra item, and it's not just a regular thing where, I'm saying, okay, we're gonna raise the taxes.
Well, they don't vote on it as that, they
As-
vote on it as the budget is
As the
presented.
budget, so-
And so, that indicates that there has to be a way of accomplishing that, and that's been what was
Yeah.
established in the previous budget, which is ongoing now. And so we need implementation language every year.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it. It's been a very, very long journey to find this out, is all I can say. I imagine it could have been done a little more simple, but so be it.
Anybody else with regards to public participation? The next matter is approval of the minutes. Any additions, deletions? Can I have a motion for that?
So move.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Quarterly reports. Board of Education.
Good evening.
Bring them up.
Is there somebody back? Oh, it's you.
I'm hiding behind Scott.
Don't let them hide in the back.
Well, I mean, that's probably why, but anyway.
You gonna have them come up?
Yeah.
Close by, come on, Mr. Hull. On the hot seat, as Barney would say. Hey, how did we make out for last year, 2013?
Yeah, we never saw it.
Did
We
we not?
never saw
Did we
that
get-
year end.
did we see
Around
it?
$5,000, I don't remember.
Yeah, that's what I thought, yeah.
What was that?
Around 5,000.
On the plus side.
5,100. You don't have it, I'll get it for
Is
you.
there a decimal percentage as to that mean? Does it reflect towards the whole budget? No, I'm not.
Pretty low.
I take that back.
So how's your budget look for the first quarter?
Well, you see the figures.
Other than special ed, pretty much.
Special ed continues to be
Story. It's expensive. Nothing you do
an
about it.
expense that we're monitoring and looking at. We believe that that figure will come down a little bit.
Your fuel oil, you haven't spent anything yet, right?
No, we topped off the tanks with your permission at the end of the year. We still have not.
Do you expect maybe get some savings along the way, because the fuel oil has dropped down in price? Did you
We
guys
hope-
already commit?
We already committed for this year, yes.
You know what
And
I
we
mean?
actually, we committed it when it went under $92 a barrel. It's a little lower now, but we looked at the ceiling, which was 105, and the floor, which was 75.
How about the same thing with gasoline?
Gasoline is the same thing. Yeah. We don't purchase that in bulk going out. We purchase that as part of the town cooperative.
Right. I know this isn't part of this report, but how's the renovations going?
On time and on budget.
On time and on budget?
Yeah.
And not finding any more asbestos? Anything-
Well, there's asbestos due to the fact that it's an older building throughout the building.
But am I getting any surprises yet?
No, not yet. Yeah, not
Yeah,
yet.
because you read about it, I read about it in different articles in different other towns where all of a sudden they run into, asbestos, and they have to do the, what is it, remediation or something like
Right,
that?
they have to abate it out.
I know it's only October, soon to be November. How do you think we're gonna do for the year?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, seriously, you got a pretty good idea.
In all honesty, it depends on special ed. We can get special ed under control.
Yeah, without that.
Without special ed,
Yeah.
we'll be fine. Yeah, we don't anticipate coming back to, for extra appropriation, but we'll be fine. I think.
You won't have your cup?
No. Not, wait, let me not know what.
How do you make out with the amount of money we gave you from the receipts, from that receipt?
Right.
Yeah.
The money coming back on that. Very good. I hear it on the radio.
Couple things. First of all, I'll do this first. We went out to bid, followed the bid process. The low bidder was chosen. We believe that the project will be finished in time for the Thanksgiving game. We asked for
Is it a
permission.
home game for Putnam?
It is a home game for Putnam, so we expect everything to be there. Those are the four companies that had interest. We ordered them as we looked at who competed against the RFP. We chose the low bidder. That letter has gone out with town permission, and it's under the bid that the amount that you authorized. Let me ask, if you want a different procedure to happen, let us know. We'll follow any procedure you want. If I read the minutes, in August, we asked for authorization. We thought we had it, and we went out to bid. If I look at the minutes, that's the way it was. And then I look in September and another authorization. Look, we'll follow any procedure you want us to follow. We just, you know, if you want to change it, then we'll change it. But
I don't know what quite happened there, but, you know, August, it went out and what happened, and just, anyway, it's no harm, no foul.
okay. Same thing when it comes to the bus bid, you know, when we push the bids up for buses. You give us the procedure, we will follow your procedure. We follow the procedure that we always had followed. We thought we were fine, and then we kind of, were surprised that there was another vote in September. If you want me there, ask. All you have to do is send down, I'll be here. I'll be here to explain it, I'll be here to go through the process, but when I left here in August, with the vote that was taken, I was under the impression that we were fine.
It got lost in the wording, and we had to reword it again
Okay.
in September and make it official.
And the only other thing I'll say is, we're looking to cooperate, the Board of Ed is looking to cooperate and collaborate with you as we build our budget going forward. Our budget documents have already gone out to our department heads and our principals. So, again, we're looking for liaison and communication between the board. So I think you said ask bid last year, so it's not an ask bid, that we get people to talk, understand where we are, what we have to do, what's driving our budget, and be part of that process. Where, again, on behalf of the board, I'll invite you on to give us a couple people to attend our meetings, and it's usually 2 meetings in February for us.
One question I do have, Bill, I'm noticing here that from a technology perspective, equipment and stuff like that, you guys are pretty light. What are you planning on, is that gonna be all captured in the high school renovation budget?
High school, yes. Middle school, elementary, are all sitting in budgets.
Okay.
So those are all purchases in grants, excuse me.
Okay.
And we wrote grants to do that. That's a part of our alliance and priority grants, and that's why we wrote, that's why it's like here.
Okay.
Is because we're doing a lot of stuff on the infrastructure side and on the back side, along with other purchases and things up to speed.
Okay.
Middle school, just because of that grant, just went wireless. So,
How many kids are going to magnet school? Okay, that's all right.
I'm trying to count in my head. 6. In the neighborhood of 18 to 20.
18 to 20,
Yeah.
somewhere like that?
And that includes the BOAG,
That includes the BOAG?
BOAG at
the
Killenly.
Killenly, right?
Yeah, which is technically not a magnet school. If you just did just magnet schools, it would be down to, I'm gonna say 12.
We still driving everybody?
Yeah. But we pick up money for that also. You understand that process. We've had this discussion.
Yes, we have. Yes, we have.
Still burns his bridge.
Yes.
It's just not going to go away. We will speak of it again, too. Any other questions for Mr. Hull?
Thanks.
You're
You
welcome.
bet. Have a good night.
Have a nice ride.
Have a good meeting. Thank you.
Night.
Good night.
The next matter is the quarterly financial reports from the general government. Would you like to, anybody have anything to say about this?
Is there
The
a
quarterly
year,
of the year end,
is there a year end?
It's
Yeah.
both, yeah, it's,
large part was the
Is
year
there-
end.
if you go through it, the change, the date changes.
Oh, okay, I see it.
And
So
actually,
there's a year-end report? Is there a final number for the year-end report?
this is what's in the system as of this date. And there's also 2 different report formats. If you look at the quarterly ending 9/30, there is one format that gives you your prior 2 years and your prior year actuals. Your current year to date actual plus encumbered, which would be anything in the form of purchase orders. Shows
What
you
page is that on?
Page 1. of, let me see, it's got 6 columns on that particular report.
Are you
'Cause
talking
some
about
people-
9:30 or ending June?
Nine.
Oh, wait a minute.
9:30.
Okay, I see
Some
another page
people-
one starts.
Some people
halfway
wanted
through,
to
there's
see
another
prior years, and some people didn't, so there's both formats.
Okay, sorry, we weren't.
That's okay.
didn't have
No, I said
that.
some people wanted to see prior years and some don't, so there's both, so you can, if you don't want to see, any history, then just choose the one that has just the actual current year in the budget.
So year end, the 630, there seems to be, like Social Security and Medicare, there's a variance, there's a large variance in all these departments. Why is that?
Because in Main Street was used for the payroll processing up until December 31. And in Main Street, they just used to group everybody's Social Security and Medicare into one big pot, where now with processing payroll in AccuFund, it's showing the true cost in each department for Social Security and Medicare, so it's broken out into departments.
Why didn't they take it out of the fringe and put that back in, so you just saw deduction in fringe or an adjustment in fringe? I'm assuming that's where that was at, based on the significant increase, and then put these back into the other one.
When the whole total final report is done, they're gonna have to do that to show what was budgeted versus
Right.
actual.
Okay. But they
And I
didn't-
do have another report where I did that, but then there was some more late invoices, so
Right.
this really gives you more accurate expenses,
Okay.
and I just didn't redo that piece and put them all in one pot again. But going forward, the particular Medicare and Social Security have been budgeted per department and will be reported that way. This is kind of just, it was more of a problem to kind of run payrolls out of 2 different systems, and then at the end of the year for the W-2s and all that. So,
You don't have anything in here for income?
no, I guess I didn't. Nope.
Yeah, because, some of these items, especially for the recreation, I think the recreation department, there's usually a number of overages in there, and they are, and I know they get donations. Let's see, professional services, that's over by about $9,400. So there's nothing on income, you didn't get an income report out at all,
I
right?
did not get an income report out, and I just learned recently there's a bunch more expenses. I sent an email around that are really last year's expenses, and those need to get in the system as well. So in essence, what I have to do is open the year up again and get all that in there.
So we talked about it a couple meetings ago, about how you're gonna handle the salt, for instance. This one was 28,000 over. How did we come up with a way to do that?
No, we need to come up with a way to handle emergencies and overages. And salt is a classic example. We can't tell and predict what kind of a winter we're gonna have, and that is one of those lines that could go over. At this point, the system will shut off paying something that's over budget. So we do really need a procedure, whether it's just some kind of an okay, a formal budget adjustment or something, because it's bound to happen.
We were talking about that the other day in the purchase order meeting that Sandy had. And if my memory, I know the computer and the software is one thing, and that's really what is snagging you up.
Well, it will as far as if somebody goes over budget.
Right. And in the past,
In the past, it was never an issue. Because
Right.
you could just
well,
pay
they
it.
would come and tell us, though. But yes, so, I don't know, does she really need something from us?
Well, because then I
In the
would have
past,
to,
if
I'd have
somebody
to,
went over budget, something like that, salt, or a truck broke and they needed,
yeah.
Right, but if they're gonna go, if they can project that they're gonna go over budget, that's one thing. But if we're in December and we just had our meeting and they're gonna go over budget, they're gonna wait till January to get salt, I mean, that would be an issue.
Right. I mean, because the big thing is I would have to adjust the budget in the system, which means when you run your reports, you're not gonna see your initial budget. Because that, you know, to be able to pay it, you need to have money in that budget.
Yeah.
So it's food for thought.
Yeah.
Well, do we know anybody else that uses AccuFund? It can't be the only town that runs into that problem.
Access Agency uses AccuFund. I don't know if they tie their budget to it or not. There's another municipality in New York, and the Diocese of Norwich also uses it, but again, I don't know if they're tying their budgets in with it. The simple answer is, when something like that happens, you have to adjust the budget somehow, so that's what we need as a procedure to approve, you know, that, I mean, we're gonna have to pay it, like with the salt, for example, so we just have to come up with some, you know, like we have a bid process, we need a process, that's all, it's to, up the budget so we can pay it. It's just,
So
you know,
who's
just.
going to set the process? I mean, I somehow or other,
I guess part of the question would be if
I mean, I don't,
we lose salt,
I mean-
and if we need more salt, where does the money, where do we
Well-
get the money from?
Yeah, that's my question.
From the general
In the past,
government?
where
Well,
would
it
that
is.
money come from?
It'd come out of either, it would come out of,
Like the
because
general-
Jerry's budget doesn't get fully expended, so you
Take
could take
piece
it out of
out of
his.
there.
You could do a
No,
budget
You
adjustment.
could do it, but you could do that at the end of the fiscal
we-
year to know it, to see what's happening, because he might not use all his overtime, so
Right.
therefore you could use some for the salt budget. Or else, you know, you just make a transfer at the end of the year from any of the
Yeah,
surplus.
at some,
So
at
you
some,
could keep it in public works.
Right,
Yeah.
you could keep it in public works.
That
But
makes the most
there's
sense.
always a possibility that you can't.
Yeah,
well,
but then
I
we
mean,
could-
I don't know if I'm going to solve every problem
No.
with Riviera. I mean, you know,
I
I mean,
think we
this
could cross
is,
that bridge when we came to it.
I think what
for
would
the
be
most
important
part.
for you to understand is that if we're going down that track in terms of overages on our budget, we should be making you aware of that as soon as possible. And
Yeah.
then, you know,
And
so
you
at least
have.
you're aware of it, so then we can,
Preferably before it happens.
right.
Right, right.
But we could tell you December, you know, your meeting in December, we're on track with the salt, and all of a sudden January
I
1st.
mean, last year, as I remember it, Jerry needed to repair something or other, so engine, I don't remember
Yeah,
exactly.
something else.
Exactly what it
Unforeseen,
was.
yeah.
It certainly wasn't in the budget. I think it was $6,000 or something like that. I mean, I just can't remember, 93 pages. That it was $6,000, and, I mean, it got fixed. Now, whether or not it went on December 1st and he got it fixed by the end of the week, if it ever came in, it got done. I mean, some of these things just have to get done.
Absolutely.
There's no, and I don't know if AccuFund, because I don't understand AccuFund.
Well,
And I don't know if that's a blessing or not.
Well, the
because
only
it
thing with
seems to be a
AccuFund
problem.
apparently is it's based on the budget. If it's based on the budget, it's not going to give you authority to spend
Right.
anything above and beyond. If it's, because then it's tied in, is it tied into the purchase order system?
yes.
See, that's the
And
problem.
I've used
So
other.
it basically closes you out from making that expenditure.
And would he have,
It holds you fiscally responsible.
Responsible.
That's all it
Right.
does. Any accounting program you run holds you fiscally accountable. Again, to make sure that you don't overspend your budget, because you budgeted for it, that's what everyone in here approved, and the town approved. So there are opportunities to go above and beyond that, it's just you have to adjust the budget before that.
but we
that's all.
would have fixed, using the trucking and those special reasons.
Absolutely.
Other than that, we would have fixed it on December 1st regardless of this. And, you know, some argument or discussion of, you know, what came first, the chicken or the egg with regards to the money. The reality is it either needs to be fixed or it doesn't need to be fixed. There may be a convoluted approach
you
towards it.
highlight-
I'm not interested in
You
it.
highlight a perfect example. There are going to become emergencies, there happen to, the things have to be done. You just have to put a process in place by which somebody has an authorization to do that, and you're gonna set that authorization limit based on the severity of the problem and the individual responsible. Again, the company I work for, at my position, I approve $350,000. I can't go above that, that require somebody more senior in the organization. Similar to people report to me have a lower limit, but that's authorization within that says signature authority list that
And I have
every company
worked-
has.
I've worked for other companies and used other software programs that were budget-driven, and sometimes we would have to do what you call a budget amendment. Sometimes certain departments have the ability to move money within their own department, say truck repairs versus salt. You know, they could, say transfer this, their bottom line remains the same, and that's one possible way to handle it, that they could, give me something in writing, listen, I need to transfer.
That's a call by you, because we've always been
Right.
told it's not the bottom line,
Right.
it's a
It's
sub
each line
account on each
item.
line.
Right.
So if it's a salary account, then it's a salary account. If it's a supplies, it's supplies.
But it
It's not the bottom
technically,
line that you're looking at least on the general government side.
yes, but technically, in the past, every time, if you've come in here and said he's gonna go over on that repair, we all sat here and knew it has to come out in another one of those line items. We just weren't computerized, so we didn't have to make the adjustment, but we're gonna have to make
Make
the
that
adjustment.
adjustment. So maybe it would be
So then
at the
do we
next
come up?
subsequent meeting of your board to approve that.
Mr. Mayor?
To answer Sean's question, at last Friday's NECOG meeting, which encompasses 16 area towns, I asked who uses HockeyFund. No one but Putney. So none of the area towns use that.
Yeah, but they must be
No,
using.
Sean's question was,
Yeah,
in
who
the
else
area-
uses
right.
it, yeah.
and I just answered his question.
Yeah, well, I'm probably,
Do you know what
the
they-
software people could help us maybe what other people do. And
It's a typical budget-driven situation where you have to amend the budget. Either that or shut off that whole budget-driven piece and just pay whatever. So,
I don't like that.
no, I don't either.
And aside from the format, I find it confusing to have the year-to-date actual right after the prior year. I'd like to see the annual budget there, and then the year-to-date farther to the right, just
I
from
mean-
my standpoint.
I suppose,
Because then you are comparing to prior years, so. But I don't know if that's what you asked for, or
This was the format, that was asked for.
I mean,
But on what report, Doug? Which one?
on all of them, they're all the year-to-date.
No, but the
first.
630, that should be that, right? The two should be, that's year-to-date should be what you spent that year, that's the closeout. and
No,
then
I
the
want to
prior
see
year.
what the annual budget is, then on year-to-date. That's,
Oh, I see what you're asking, okay.
Yeah, it's backwards.
it's backwards. At least I think it's backwards, but somebody told Sandy to run it that way, so.
well, several years, well, I suppose the proof is the 93 pages, but the truth.
Well, only, it's actually only.
I don't know what the answer is to this in some ways. But I look at the Board of Ed budget, which happens to be in front of us. Now, that's a much, much bigger budget, and I'm sure it's done in a whole different way. But as I look at that budget, I find it pretty easy to follow.
Right.
And when I look at it more so, if they have little brackets like $167,000, they're over at this quarter with regards to placements and things along those lines. I don't know where they are, I don't know if they're from here, there, or somewhere else. But whatever it is, I make an assumption, maybe wrongly, that Board of Ed, Mr. Hull, whoever it is doing the whole thing is, and at the end of the year, we're going to come up with a number, and we always complain about them chasing money from one budget to another, but in fact, we do the same thing at the end of the day with money's money, overages or not. But the thing that we've always liked about that is at the end of the budget, they have the numbers, and it pretty much tells you like 506 is over, or 520 is under, or whatever it is, when this is significant something or other for that quarter. I mean, it eliminates the need to have long, and if you remember, and you've been around long enough too, to remember the difficulties we had with the Board of Education budget, is that we'd have many a long evening in here with Mr. Pembeck and any number of other people talking about the budget itself, and what did it mean, and I mean, there aren't a lot of us that really are, other than person to my right, probably yourself, have not a lot of bookkeeping. We're not bookkeepers. I mean, we're not accountants. We're not. Someone tells me, you do it left to right rather than right to left, and I'll buy it. I don't really know, and there's no reason I should. But it's a much easier thing to understand, that Board of Ed budget. It's fairly simple.
It's transparent.
Good word. And I find this, as everybody else seems to, some difficulty understanding it. And I appreciate that everybody's got a different idea on how the worm's supposed to turn. But I don't know what the answer, I really don't know what the answer is. I mean, I wish I did, but this is, I think perhaps, it's tiring for a lot of people. I'm sure yourself. And I don't know if there's an easy remedy for it. I don't know if AccuFund can get you to there, or I don't know if AccuFund just is more the generation of weight and paper is somehow or other the answer to this. I know the purchase orders, I've never quite seen a budget with purchase orders in it. And I, did stuff, I mean, and regardless of things that I've been on that did budgets and what have you, in Quinnipiac Valley, things you're talking about, I've been on there, those committees. And I've never quite seen a budget like that where, and it is what it is. I appreciate that it's down there. We've entered into that purchase order thing. I don't know if that's a good idea or a bad idea or a failed idea or it needs another step. I know several people from this board went to a meeting with regards to that, and I'm told that as far as, they resolved, some of the issues were resolved and what have you. I don't know where that goes now, but I didn't go to that, unfortunately, but Kathy was there, and,
I was there.
Had some emails on, and seemed to go okay. But I don't know, I don't know quite what the answer is. I mean, we've got this in front of us. I mean, we get emails, all of us do, from other people within the department, and I don't know. Some decisions have to be made sooner or later.
Well, Mr. Chairman, when I look at the budget, I'm not an accountant, but I'm looking for, it would be nice to see a bottom line. I'm assuming AccuFund can come up with a grand total.
Well, that's an assumption.
Well, I'm asking.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm looking at these reports, I see totals for different departments, but then I get to the bottom and I don't see a grand total. I look at the Board of Ed, I see a grand total. I've kind of been used to doing this so many years, I see a grand total every time I pick up one of these budgets.
That's what he was saying. You see the grand total, where it
Yeah.
stands.
Right.
It's over, it's
I
under,
don't
it's
see
this,
that.
it's
I don't see
that.
that on any of the reports, nor do I see an income report.
So I'm wondering, in the past, has it ever been, does the Board of Finance ever in the past, have a committee that, I think, Mark, in one of the emails last month, you had said to set up procedures and how we expect things and when we expect them.
What the expectations are.
Instead of going, should we have a committee or should we have just a meeting amongst ourselves to decide how do we want things, when do we want things, and what do we need to know? I keep forgetting to look to see if I can find a budget from a couple years ago that we could say this is what we were used to. Can we make the machine come back to this?
I have no way of knowing.
I don't know how do we get from, how do we fix it? We have to get together and come up with some,
I don't know,
expectations.
I don't know what system, we spent, $35,000 on this or something, so we certainly, 36, whatever it is.
I don't think it's a system problem, I just think it's a problem that,
I'd be happy.
that we need to come up with, this is what we want, and this is how we want it, and.
I'd be happy if it looked like the Board of Ed one.
I hate to be Peter Serafin, but look to your
Whoops.
charter.
What?
Look to your charter as to what the columns are required. by the charter, and that might guide you in terms of, might
Well, you
help you
know-
in terms of how you would set out the budget. Because supposedly you should have 2 prior years and then year. So
I think you're right.
I just use that as.
Isn't there a committee coming up to eliminate?
There is,
Yeah.
but I don't think we're gonna touch that aspect.
No, we're not. We haven't.
The only thing we're gonna change in the budget process is probably change the time that you're required to hold the annual budget meeting.
Oh, thank you.
I can work out the columns. I mean, I think that we can work that out even in the committee. But I don't think you need a committee to get a total.
Right.
Just a total, grand total. That's what I would be looking for. That doesn't take a committee for that.
And another thing I don't, and to speak with you're speaking to Robert, that I don't know, I don't know what the problem is, because I hear people, matter of fact, in the elevator today, who's, you know, that it's the I don't know if everybody's having a problem with the numbers, or it's just a single individual. But I've never heard stuff like that in 8 years here.
Same here.
Could I ask a question, just to get into the details? Sandy, on page 9 under Northeast Connecticut Transit District, it shows only a year-to-date of about 7,900. Does that
Are
mean?
you on the 630?
What page?
I'm sorry, I'm on 631.
Okay, and I'm sorry, on page
And
9.
it seems like we missed a payment for the Northeast Connecticut Transit District.
We did.
We did?
Yes. It was, yeah, we did. We did.
Ooh. Is there any way to go back to make that
That's
payment?
one of the items on the recently discovered expenses that didn't get booked.
Well, like the Youth Advisory Board, that's
Mhm.
United Services, that didn't get paid.
Right.
Um,
I don't know
So,
if that was
yeah.
up on my radar.
Unless we have a long memory here, we're gonna be coming to you next year, and we're gonna say, you know, we need this money. You say, well, you didn't spend it last year. So I just wanna
Yep.
make you aware.
The thing is, I can open the year back up and put those expenses in.
Well, the other thing is, if you go to
Which
page
means-
11 on debt retirement, it shows that we didn't make any principal payments. Now, we must be in default then.
Or else it just wasn't booked,
Okay,
which is quite possible.
well, that's a major payment there. So
Yes, it is.
that should be,
Page is that, Doug?
that's on page 11 of the 630.
On the next
For
page.
the 630, yeah, right at the top.
And then I think, I understand on capital non-recurring, Sandy, is that you use the total amount
What page?
for the library improvements program of 24,962, which isn't really an actual budget figure, because we didn't have anything in the budget for the library.
As I recall, the leftovers were moved over so that they could use it in subsequent years.
Right, but it shouldn't be reflected here if we use this as a budget figure, because that's going to throw our budget off.
Well, they had,
The capital non-recurring special account, not a budget account.
well, that's just where they had put the library improvement study money in the past.
Yeah, but it's not in our annual budget.
No, but it's budgeted in there and has been, this is like the third year now.
Yeah, but this is based on the fiscal year ending 6/30, and we didn't budget 24,962. We didn't
That's-
budget anything for
That's
the
what they
library.
had left over to spend.
I know, but it shouldn't be in the budget. It shouldn't be reflected in the budget. It should be in the capital non-recurring special
Well,
account.
we could change the number and put it somewhere else. It just was brought over.
Well, it's not budgeted, though. It wasn't an approved budget by the town
What
meeting.
they approved was, in one of these type meetings, is to carry that money over from year 3 to 2 to 1. And in order to pay bills, you have to have, quote, a budgeted number in there, or else it won't let you pay. So,
Well, that's
I mean, we
a
can call
problem,
it,
because you're going to have capital programs that are continuing year to year. We don't budget for those in a given year.
like I
for
said,
instance-
we can call it something else.
Okay. Well, it used to be a capital non-recurring special account. And that used to be carried in that account, and you used to be able to pay out of that.
Yeah, so you can pay out of that, except that you need a budget, you need budget dollars, because everything else is budget driven, so if you don't have anything in there, then you can't
But if it's
pay.
not
Well, we're gonna
budgeted
have
in
to make
that
it-
year,
we're
you're
gonna have to
gonna
make
have
it-
a,
Oh,
we're
it's
gonna have
just
to make a
carried
significant
over.
change.
but it's gonna throw the budget
It's
number
gonna
off.
throw the budget off.
It can't be carried over if it's not in the budget.
Because we could be
don't
carrying
wanna
that in the
see that.
budget, and every year you're gonna see 25,000, and
You
you're
don't
gonna
have
say,
it.
why aren't you spending that money?
Correct. And then we're gonna say, why don't we pull it from over there? It just sits there. Yeah.
And, I'm sorry,
Mhm.
do you want me to take up time or not?
No, please,
Yeah,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
On page 3, under the report, under the microfilming land records,
Yes, what is that?
it showed 25,000, but we had only budgeted
Can
you let us catch up to that?
Yeah,
so we
what-
can-
I'm sorry.
What year are you on?
Which,
I'm
okay,
at
6:30 or
I'm all on
6:30?
6/30/2014.
Okay.
which section on page?
5614.
5614, microfilming land.
Right here.
The budget was only like 14,000. It was 13,000.
What
So
you're
we're-
showing, no, wait a minute, you're showing 13,000 on that?
No, I went back to the budget, and it was 13,000 in the
Okay.
budget.
Yep.
But now it's showing almost 26,000.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oops.
And the answer being,
Hmm? Well, I think it's adding up, if you look at it, no, I don't even know if that.
No, because.
Yeah, if you're adding up 13, if you're adding up the actual and the variance, I think that comes out to that amount.
Yep.
It is.
Comes up
That's
to
right.
what?
It
Yeah,
comes
that's
out
what
to
it's supposed to do.
26,000.
It's supposed to.
But the budget isn't 13,000.
No, I understand that, but
Okay.
the actual and the variance, that gives you your number.
Yeah, but if you're supposed to start out with a budget of 13,000,
But whatever it is, the annual budget in there says 29 or 26,000, like you said, 25, 9,
Yeah.
9,
So that's
9,
yeah, that's true, but
Yep.
That's
So if you only
wrong.
spent 13 of it, you would have 12 left.
yeah, well, the math is right, but he's saying the figures are all
the
wrong.
figure's
Well,
wrong.
Yeah.
that I can't speak to.
So
I
what was
can
the-
only
what-
speak to
So
what's
if
on the
we
paper.
added up this column that says annual budget, I'm thinking that should add to the figure that we approved at the town meeting.
Right.
That's
Right.
it.
That's
right, right.
But you're
At
saying it's
least-
not gonna add up.
It's not gonna add up.
No,
And we don't have totals to find that out.
right, and we don't
Right.
have total to find that out. So, Sandy.
So that means they
I
went
mean,
over
there's-
budget too, because
No,
if they
they
only
didn't
had
go over budget.
13,000?
They didn't go over budget.
You know, that even the
What's the
recreation,
year-to-date actual?
13.
13,680.
Yeah.
recreation is over 49,000.
And,
So really, their variance should be closer to zero, right? Or, I mean, I
If
don't know.
Well, it'd be over 680 if they were,
Yeah.
Yeah, oh,
it was actually based on the budget.
But why would you have, the prior year was 16.3, why would you go less? Why would you think it would be less than
Because
the
that's what
prior year?
we were brought to by the
Okay.
town clerk.
Okay.
And I think the board probably made a decision to also reduce it, so. But I can't, I'd have to go back to what our discussions were. I'm just saying 13,000 is a lot over.
Yeah.
And then on the probate court, we didn't spend our full amount either.
Page, yes.
Same page.
there may be something, I don't know why.
I'm just saying, how do we get to the
Right.
real dollars here?
Yeah.
As I'm getting ready and doing work on the audit, it was suggested by the auditors that I clear up all the extra funds first and balance them back to the general ledger. So at this point, there's quite a few that have been reconciled and balanced back to the general ledger, or general fund rather, and the general fund is always last. So, you know, it's been, we've had people entering things or not entering things. You know, we came across some expenses that were never put in, those have to get in. Doug, as you know, there's money sitting in suspense, that needs to be allocated out. And just moving forward.
Electricity.
electricity.
I mean,
Yeah, did you see that for the town hall?
Yeah.
That's impressive, isn't it? Did you guys do some energy conservation things here or something? Turn off power for half a
No,
year?
the budget, the annual budget number went from 28 to
To
61.
61, yeah, no, I saw that.
Seems to be not right.
Something's wacky.
People may have adjusted the numbers so they could pay bills. You know, at this point, I'm just guessing, because I don't know.
That's 28,000, that's double the.
Well, they may have just like inflated it so that they could just pay, you know, I don't know. I know some stuff's done like that, but.
But what is the actual budget for that?
28,000,
And we have 61,
62.
so we're over budget 33,000?
No, you're to the good 33,000.
Oh, well,
Yeah,
But not.
that was it. That's now we're on. Exactly. I'll buy a copy too, but that's not right.
But Bob's right, without totals, to find
There's
out
no
where
way
your
of knowing.
budget, we don't know
No
how
way.
this is off.
Yeah, that's right. We had a total.
Well, this
we'd
is the
look-
first
compare
meeting
it.
that totals have been brought up, so I have to take note of that.
But I would think I would think you would have expected that the finance board would have wanted
Total.
total.
We've always seen.
You know,
I mean,
a lot of
maybe I'm wrong,
hours
but-
have gone into building these reports. It's like programming behind the scenes. And there's been different tweaks, and quite honestly, I didn't, you know, we got total speech department, and I've been trying to do other stuff too, and create this report, because I know it was requested to have it ready for October. Doing the best I can with the resources I have to work with.
Any more questions,
Not any more from me.
comments?
I would just ask if you guys decide with a certain format, what you want in what columns and whatever you want it to say.
And I would recommend that your recommendation become the standard recommendation for everybody. Nobody's going to get the individual report based on their likes or dislikes. It has to be one standardized report.
I agree.
So one question I did, and I apologize, I don't know. For asset, when you buy a piece of equipment, do they sign an asset tag to it or some sort of asset in the register and that goes?
Yeah, it goes on our fixed.
Do you guys have a computerized maintenance management system or is it all done by?
It is now, it will be now.
It will be. We have a fixed asset module,
But I'm in a management, why would you track maintenance and stuff like that, upkeep or no? That's.
No, I don't think on our equipment.
Okay.
It's on the,
Kerma has.
WPCA has it.
PCA is gonna have.
And I'm sure, I know the Public Works has
Yeah.
Yes.
a seat of the pants type of, you know, they track hours and that
Sure.
sort of thing.
Okay.
And for oil changes, those type of things. But I don't remember if they have an actual computerized system.
I think there's a program down there for that.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, if I may? I mean, maybe it was because I spent 8 years on the Board of Ed and got used to that report, but we're going to be starting to work on budgets pretty soon. And I looked at these reports and I can't figure out where we are, where we're going to end up, where we're going. But I look at that Board of Ed report
Yeah.
and everything's there.
Yeah.
So maybe it's too simplistic, but why not have it mirror the Board of Ed report?
We can do that. It
Well,
looks like
other
just your
than that,
current
that
year.
doesn't have the.
No
I
history.
mean, if you want to put those, prior years,
Right.
that's
Yeah,
fine.
wait, that-
First column, yeah.
Yeah.
First
I mean,
column.
because this Board of Education budget has changed from what I was familiar with maybe 8 months ago, a little bit. Something's changed here.
Well,
The
the
last
one
2
thing I
months.
don't like about Nancy's report, and I think it came back from the Margot Marvin days, they have the budget and then the appropriated budget. And that was just like a little dig, I think, that she said, hey, if you didn't cut us here, we would have been all
Oh,
set.
yeah,
But,
yeah, I
you know,
remember.
but if you want to put the 2 years and the prior year on top of that's fine, if you have to do that. But the rest of the information on the Board of Ed is bulletproof. I look at each line item, I know where they are, where the encumbered numbers are, where they're going to end up, and what the projection is over or under. I mean, it's simple.
And it's a total.
And it is a total.
Yeah, but the other one, how much is Scott says?
They're going to be they're going to be about $8,000. They're going to return right now their estimate out of 16 million. This one we don't know what's going on.
So Scott, if you go to that second page, that adjusted appropriation,
Yeah,
it talks about transfer, so when we start talking about the process by which we transfer.
That would be
from one
perfect.
thing, It actually captures it there, so you
Yeah.
can look across and see what went where. 2,500 was taken out of there and put here.
Yeah,
That's
but
where it went.
But I don't know, and that, to me, when I look at both of them, and I'm not on the Board of Finance, but I know we're gonna have to start working on our budgets. I'd love to have something that looked like the Board of Ed that I could use for the town.
We can definitely do this, and then just keep in mind, paper's only so big, so if we're gonna try to add 2 more columns in, I mean, I guess we,
Smaller font.
yeah,
Legal paper,
but people
legal
are gonna
size.
complain they can't see it.
Legal size.
Legal size.
I mean, they have bigger
Yeah,
paper.
absolutely.
Well, I know how you,
Well, the other one too is,
I mean, it gets, you know, I mean, for our
Just,
purposes.
your wish is my command.
Well, anyway, but, for our purposes, I mean, I would, you know, from my own point of view, I would just like something that we could come in and just all agree on, and maybe we need to have something of another meeting or something along those lines, so that everybody's wishes and desires.
Don't think you have to, also you have to make transfers by the end of,
You know, we get everything chasing us.
Huh?
You get everything chasing us.
Yeah, but you
Transfers
gotta
and-
find, you get an audit that's, you know, has to be done by December 31st, which I don't think we'll make, but.
I don't know what that's going to be. I have no idea. I mean, I'm not big on. I know that this budget is difficult. It's difficult to understand.
that's okay. The WPCA doesn't even have one, so, I mean, we don't have to worry about anything.
That's all right. Just stick it in the bank. Or what have you. I don't have a good answer for that.
But I say we do have a budget, but we don't know where we stand.
Yeah, I mean, you know, what you say, what's the total at the end? I
We
mean,
don't know the
for
totals.
the first quarter, either doing well or we're not doing well, or, you know, what did the Pumpkin Fest cost us? You know, that was a great, and matter, nothing to do with this, that was a good deal, that worked okay, that was nice. That was okay, thank you. And, yeah, that was a nice time.
Willie, you know, is a little bit frustrated because at the end of last year, no, I shouldn't say that, at the beginning of this year, the new year, they started receiving monies for items that were spent in the previous, you know what I'm talking about, okay? Checks, what did we end up, the end of June? I'll say some checks came in July for activities that went on in June. So that just messes up this whole schedule. He said, you know, you're gonna probably, and it doesn't show this on here, he figured we were gonna be about $18,000 to the good on his budget, but this shows a lot more than that. But he says, next year I'm gonna run short because, you know, because the money is being brought in.
And it's corporate sponsors that.
And it's corporate sponsors.
Yeah,
Well, I
like I
think
said,
that
we have
Sandra,
to,
has
we have to
spoken to
encumber the funds,
Yeah.
and so that will take care of
You
that
have
problem.
to change it.
Yep.
Can we see for next meeting or before,
Proposed format.
an annual budget that would total the actual budget that was approved at the town hall?
You want the 630 amount?
Yeah, definitely.
You want
would
just
like
You want
to
the
see
quarterly
it.
reports to reflect it too?
Yeah,
Yes, oh, yeah.
yeah, both.
I'm sorry, you want just the budget?
Well, I mean, okay, so we got the prior 2 years, which means that was, we got the prior year and the year before there, right?
Mhm.
Then we should have what was the budget that was
The
approved
budget
in the
change,
next
okay.
column,
Okay, wait,
the
let me
current
get-
budget.
All right, so prior 2 years, prior year, then you want budget?
The annual budget should be over there where it says year-to-date actual.
Okay.
Then,
don't you just want to say that's what it is?
well, I don't like that, those, well, yeah, we can change the titles, yeah, I'm just trying to get the columns in order. No, because theirs doesn't have 2 years in here.
No, that's what I'm saying, though, just add 2 columns ahead of that to put the prior 2 years, and then keep
Yeah, the
everything else the
original
same.
budget is what
Yep.
she's calling the annual budget.
Exactly, the
so-
original budget,
Yeah,
any transfers that will ever be made, and then the adjusted amounts,
Yep.
what you have encumbered,
yeah.
then obviously year-to-date, what you
Expected, yeah.
expended, if there's hopefully a projected expense, we'll put you at that final projected balance. And that will give you an idea.
Yeah, see,
too, where
that's
you're
a
gonna be.
lot of columns
Because-
to me, isn't it? I mean, we don't need all
We're
those.
going to have one meeting in November,
Nothing in
nothing in December. So effectively, we should coming back. Now, the first question I probably, which I read everything, I mean, whatever it is it possible for you to do that? And is it realistic to do that?
I can make this my
Well,
number one priority.
And if you can't, you know, I think you've got to have something from you that shows what it is that's going to be in January. Something with
Yeah,
regards to
because
that. I mean,
my worry is that
how
we're
this
gonna
is
have
how this
auditors
is gonna
in here
look.
before we have,
So
know if this is in line. We
Listen,
gotta know.
I just don't want to come back in November and spend 45 minutes here. You know, there's other things to be done, and certainly this is important as anything with regards to the town, but we could do it, you know, in a not-meeting type thing. Is that a proposal as to what it is that works? Because I don't want to come in November and hear that AccuFund, who seems to be the bane of some existence here, can't do it, or doesn't want to do it, or won't let somebody repair the engine in January. I don't know. But, you know, those figures for 13, those figures for 12 for the year, I mean, those things are pretty constant now. That's closed books and what have you. There's nothing to do there. So, you know, generating that, I mean, it's old news.
Right, when you write a report, you tell it where to go pull something
Well,
from.
whatever you tell it, I'm not telling it
It's
anything.
programming.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not telling it anything. And at the end of the day, I mean, can you make it look like what Mark's talking about?
Yes, it's going to take time, it's a
Well,
project,
and
yes.
if you don't have a feeling that you can have it, I think you pick the phone up and you make a phone call, sorry about that, but you make a phone call to Mark and say, you know, whatever it is, well, to Kathy, I mean, people that have more of an understanding than the rest of us, but I don't speak for myself, on the board to do this stuff, and to make it look like it's reflecting on something, because I don't know that this can be never ending.
I will, at this point, use this format and add the 2 columns in the front for the prior 2 years. It's going to take me, you know, a fair amount of time, but you'll have grand totals.
That's great.
You know, you can have departmental totals too. I mean, they don't have that here because it's just one department. We can have departmental totals and grand total.
That'd be great.
So I will work on this.
What do you think, Rob?
All she has to do is go downstairs and ask Nancy to set up for the school board, that's what you want.
Yeah.
You don't have to call anybody, she's 20 feet away.
AccuFund has to, I mean, unless I manually type these in every time I run a report, which is kind of crazy.
Stop running reports, just get it the way she did, it's simple.
What do you mean?
Just like that, the report that Cole gets.
It's a different software.
Yeah, it's a different
It's a
software.
different software, you just can't, you know, wave your hand and make it happen.
It's a custom report, it has to be built. It has to be programmed.
Okay, folks, anybody else want to comment on the town budget?
The only comment I will say for like the 9/31 dated, everything lists, what was the part, the other one, the one that
Is this the
shows
6-column one or the,
the 4-column one, so it
Okay.
says actual year-to-date budget, year-to-date, and then annual budget. The budget year-to-date
And
cannot
annual.
equal the annual budget.
right, it's because I didn't break it down and enter it 12 times for each line item, that's why.
But
that's
the
what-
difficulty with that is that you may well understand why something isn't there, and may have a clear understanding of it. I mean,
Right.
your responsibility is to present it to people so that they can understand it. Anyway.
And, you know, you're absolutely right when you mention the people. There is nobody that could come in here right now and ask, what did we spend in 2012, 2013, you know, might be a little bit embarrassing, just like it is in the WPCA, that we can't tell them.
I think that's why some people do want to see the prior 2 years, so they can see, oh, what did we spend last year and the year before?
That's by charter, I think.
Is that by
Right?
charter?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's by charter.
It isn't just a whim. Okay, moving on. If we can move on. Finance Director's report. Or does that mean we've already covered it? I hope.
Yep, we're done.
Okay. Unfinished business. Water pipe relining and restoration.
Okay, under the water pipe relining and replacement, we'll be receiving bids on November 3rd for contract one, which is basically approximately 10,000 linear feet of pipe that will be either replaced or relined in the Mechanics Street area and also by Wilkinson up in that neighborhood.
The tank.
No,
No.
the tank will not, it's the total of almost $60 million is going to be split into 3 contracts. Contract one is approximately $4 million, and is to take into account, and these are 2 of the priority areas that were established through the hydraulic study. So it's the Mechanic Street area and the Wilkinson Street area as contract one that they'll start working on as soon as the bids come in and we award the contract. Contract number 2 is the greater portion of the remainder of the work that will be done, and then contract 3 will basically be finishing up some of the stuff and then also doing the water tank. So
That water tank being the one on
Richmond.
Richmond, there's no water tank up in the village, in Danny's house.
See how often I go up there?
I was just gonna say, we mentioned the water tank, I was saying.
Oh, you know,
Danny got rid of that a long time ago.
So contract 1 is November 3rd open bids, and contract 2 and 3 will come through very shortly. We are planning to do the bulk of the work for the water relining and replacement, even though it's a 2-year project. A lot of the work will be done in next year's construction season, which basically runs from March 2015 through November or December. The other thing that you should be adding under unfinished business is the sewer lift stations program. That's the renovation and rebuilding of all 10 sewer lift stations in town. And the bid has been awarded to Associates Construction, and we are in the process of signing the contracts to award to get the contract rolling on the sewer lift stations. Again, the sewer lift stations, that's a $4 million project that will be primarily done again in the next construction season. And then the third project that is moving forward is the manganese treatment building at the Park Street well fields. And that project is a design-build concept. And the CME, who are consulting engineers, have been directed to go forward with a biological treatment system for the manganese. We looked at a number of different treatment systems and felt that the biological treatment system to take the manganese out of the water was the most effective and the most cost-effective. So they're moving forward in terms of putting out the RFP for the design build on the manganese treatment buildings. So that brings you up to date on all the WPCA projects. As you know, the well fields are complete, and also the main sewer treatment plant is complete. Technology Park update, you want me to just keep going down?
Yeah.
Okay. Technology Park, the notice to award has been given to Tully Construction out of Southbridge in the amount of about $2.4 million, and that's to build the bridge and the east access way from the Kennedy Drive to the bridge. We are going to go out very shortly we split up the total Technology Park project into about 5 bids. Bid number 2 is going to be the roadway on the west side of the Quinebaug River. Bid number 3 is going to be the lift station that we have to construct in order to accommodate to take in all the sewerage from whether it's YMCA or other companies that build in the plant. Build in the park. And bid 4 is the water lines. The other thing right now, we're in the process of negotiating and it's basically crossing our T's and dotting our I's on all the various easements that are going to be required to be put on the deed when we transfer the land to the YMCA.
It'll be heavy?
Excuse me? It shouldn't be that long, no. But there are a lot of easements. In fact, one of them that we just found out about is, we have to put an easement there for the archaeological remains that are on site.
They should not be able to spot it out.
So, and as you know, both Brooklyn and Pomfret have joined into, as an interlocal agreement to join with Putnam and Scotland to develop the park. Anything else on that?
You've done good.
Okay. Needs assessment, we have received a letter from Mahoney and Sable. Basically, it's the same, it's more detailed in terms of the objective and scope of the engagement, which is stage 1, performance of gap analysis, stage 2, review of current responsibility, and then stage 3, recommendation for improvements. And within that, they're going to be looking at various accounting and financial processes, cash disbursements, cash receipts, payroll, journal entries, general ledger, monthly, quarterly, annual reconciliations, internal and external financial reporting. What it comes down to is basically that they would expect to have a draft report of their findings no later than December 12th, 2014, and they'd be billing us at $165 per hour, and they state that it would be approximately 60 hours, and I forget to bring my calculator.
Is that a standard rate? What they're
The under 65 is basically a standard rate. So. My only question is that quick enough for you? If not, we'd look into the other alternatives. I have my feelers out through GFOA to see if there's some retired finance directors out there that might be able to come in sooner to get it done, but I'm looking for guidance from you.
When will this get done, based on this here?
Well, the thing is, with Mahoney and Sable, they're going to be in town also be doing the audit. So they're going to have their hands pretty well full with the
Are
audit.
we doing our audit?
Our audit. So at the same time, they'd be trying to accomplish this other needs assessment, and that's the reason that they're giving us until December 12th.
But as a return date to us, what would that be?
December 12th would be your draft report.
If you did find somebody else, what would the difference be?
I'd probably be able to get it done in 30 days.
Is there anybody out there that you know of? I mean, it's one thing.
I do know of some people out there, but I'm reviewing, I'm going through GFOA because there are retired finance directors and treasurers that would be available on a consulting basis.
I kind of, my own personal opinion, I'd kind of like to get it done.
Yep.
That way, whatever's handy needs to
Okay.
be done. You know, there's a draft coming in at the end of December, you know, or whatever the season, whatever it is, and, you know, we're in January and February by the time something else comes.
Okay.
There's no need for that.
Could you have a motion to that effect? So,
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we authorize the Doug to get a retired consultant to go ahead and do our assessment, needs assessment.
Second.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
and I don't know if it's under unfinished business. Could I think you were handed out a sheet from our official preliminary official statement. I just wanted to run through with you that our bands are coming due that we had issued bond anticipation notes are coming due, which we had issued last year. You can see the bands outstanding of $7.4 million. What we did, and this was just completed today, we've had all our engineering firms provide us with cash flow analysis to take us from basically November this year to November next year, and to see how much would it be expected to be spent under our temporary borrowing. So you can see under the water, the drinking water, which is basically the relining and replacement of the 2 bond authorizations that we have authority from the town. It's expected that we're going to be able to expend $11.8 million next year. So we'd be accomplishing a good portion of the total amount of almost $60 million to accomplish the drinking water. The drinking water system, manganese treatment, again, almost the full amount that had been budgeted for the drinking water manganese treatment building will be able to be spent over the course of the band period. The sewer lift stations will almost be expending, less than $200,000, the full amount on the lift station program. the Quinebaug Regional Technology Park, now that we have the big, the award for the bid for the construction of the bridge, I netted out the $2.97 million we're going to get for the bridge and the $319,000 that we're going to get to steep, and came up with a net amount of $4.4 million for the Quinebaug Regional Technology Park project. And then finally, Nancy Cole and I were working on coming up with a net cost to the town for this period from November to November. So what we took into account that we took the cash flow calculation into account that's provided by our construction manager. We figured out what the reimbursement rate from the state, and we get reimbursed on every other month. So we're going to submit a reimbursement for on November 1st. We'll be getting paid in December for that amount, and then every other month following up. And the first payment also takes into account not what has already been previously billed, but also takes into account going forward into January. So the 2 months of January will be under this first reimbursement. So what it comes down to basically is that the bands that we are looking at is $5.5 million of the net town cost that the town will have to put out, taking into account that we're going to be reimbursed by the state on this routine basis. The other thing you should be aware of is that they withhold 5% of the total. So that's on the town to bear that 5%. So it's a 73.21% reimbursement rate. They multiply that by 95%, they hold 5%, and then whatever the remainder is the town's net, which we're responsible for.
Have they figured out
Just
which
to remind you,
numbers?
the first 4 items are paid for by
The ratepayers.
the ratepayers, all right? Yes, we did get some grants.
With the school, there was some question with the state making a determination about what GL numbers we have to expense. So I know Nancy had me do a lot of adjustments, and there's a
Two
bunch more.
projects. So there's 2 projects.
There's 2, and now we have to separate them out.
One is the school, and the other one is basically the PALs and the medical pathways and the Board of Ed. And they told us that it basically can be done just on a square footage basis, so it really made the calculation. So the other thing is we're getting a significant amount of both loans and grants on the drinking water system, and also the water line replacement system, the manganese treatment system, and the lift station system. So even though we're doing the bands now, we're paying only
Can
about
I ask you a
1%.
question, Doug?
Sure.
What does BAN
What does it
stand
mean?
for? EAN.
And anticipation notes. This is the temporary borrowing. You know, when you build a house, you get temporary borrowing.
I appreciate people cut things up and make acronyms and things. I don't do this stuff.
Okay. But it's our temporary borrowing until we finish the projects, and then the permanent financing kicks in, which is either the USDA. We also have a very good rate from the state of Connecticut and the Clean Water Fund. So what we're trying to do is fashion it so that we use the USDA fund because they have the biggest portion of the grant, the USDA funding, and then at the end of the project, take the USDA loan out with the state of Connecticut loan, and that's at 2% interest as opposed to the 2.75 in one case, and I think 3.25 on the other case. So,
Much too many numbers this thing.
but I just want to let you know that we're working on that now, and I think mid-November is when we'll be putting this out. And so hopefully we get the same good results. I've been looking at the municipal bond market recently, and it's really great shape. So if we had an opportunity to permanently finance a school this time, I think it would be a good opportunity. But
What is it?
it's less. It's 3% or less in some cases. It's been very, very good recently. So I just want to bring you up to date on that. And then finally, you're moving into the facility study. So I'm sorry I took so long.
All right. Very informative.
Now they have a new contract here.
I know.
Moving to new business. And the first item here is Putnam Facility Study Group.
Doug, did you want to take that one, or you want me to take it?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I
He's
mean,
on a roll.
yeah, he's on a roll, so.
There's 2 things that they are requesting. One is that they need some help in terms of the secretarial and clerical responsibilities to the committee. Right now, they're doing a lot of work. One of the things they did just recently is they scheduled a structural engineer to go take a look at the provincial house. That report came back. So there's a lot of things happening right now in terms of the committee reviewing various options to present to finally to present to the Board of Selectmen, which come to the Board of Finance. Whether it's how they determine what should be done in terms of constructing a new library and also a town hall. So the first thing they wanted to do, we currently have about $4,800 left over in the account from the library. They use $600 for the structural engineer. What they would like to do is move more, get more involved in terms of hiring an architect to come on board to help them with the planning stages of this. So I would think that would be in the vicinity of $40,000. So they'd probably have to go to a town meeting. Again, I forget what we did for the library. I think it was about $40,000 for the library. So, but now we're talking about well, I would think you could cut that in half and you could get a price for the town hall and whatever is remaining in the library. So maybe
Who would
$25,000.
be handling that?
It would come through the Public Facilities Committee, but we'd be handling it internally here to process it. And then the other one is something that, in terms of the clerical and assistance, is we've been looking at, and Alma's been working on the numbers about $1,250
Yeah,
to assist in their responsibilities. So I think you can make that determination. However,
Would they have
as
to-
was brought up by Mr. Bove, the charge of the Public Facility Study Committee was hire as necessary with consent of the Board of Selectmen, professional consultants, including architects, consulting engineers, to assist them in carrying out their responsibilities. And I'm sure the Board of Selectmen would have no problem in amending that.
Given the amount, I mean, it's certainly it's going to go to a public hearing and what have you and everything else, but are those, how close are those numbers to real numbers?
25,000?
Yeah.
Very close.
Yeah.
1250 is very close too, and they could use that existing funding to help with that. So you might not necessarily, you might want to sort of give us the, to allow us to go forward to use that existing funds for this purpose for the clerical, but I think for the, come back to, go through the Board of Selectmen to come back to you with a more definitive number for the architect.
When you say clerical, they need a secretary. Right.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
We were
sorry.
trying to take, we were gonna start taking turns of people taking minutes, but it just, number one, it's cumbersome for the person, that nothing is uniform, and with all the FOI stuff, we're afraid that
Yes.
if we make one mistake, we're gonna be in trouble. So Denise was asked if she would be available, which she said she would be, so that's why we're here, just to ask for those, to make sure that we're doing everything correctly.
Yeah, I talked to Rawson about it recently, and he mentioned that, that they needed a secretary. And it makes a lot of sense. I think it puts a burden on the committee members to have to do that. And you're right, I mean, if you rotate the job, you're not gonna get the same style of minutes. I can tell you that from my
Right.
experience. So I think, because it is a very important committee, because you've decided, instead of having the library committee and all these other committees, to have this one committee look into this, I think it's important that you have the documentation, make sure all your Ts are crossed and your Is are dotted, so that when somebody comes back in a year from now and starts asking questions, the information is there, like you said, with the FOI and everything.
Exactly.
So I think it's a good move.
Exactly.
What are you looking for a
I'm just
motion?
saying, giving us a blessing to be able to use some of the remainder of the 4,800 to be able to use for the clerical work.
Father Garsto could make that motion.
I'll make the motion that we
Not to exceed
authorize,
1,250.
not
Yeah.
to exceed
1,250.
1250.
1250.
1,250.
1,250 for clerical work, for a secretary for the
Facilities.
facilities committee.
Are you gonna create a different wage line for that somewhere?
There's,
He said.
second, I'm sorry. All those in favor?
Aye.
And again, working through the Board of Selectmen, we'll come back to you with a architect's
Good.
proposal.
Okay, the next matter is, anything else on Alma?
No, that's it, thank you. That's all right.
How many people on that committee?
5 now, I believe.
Yeah.
5?
Yeah.
Okay, how about approval of the 2015 meeting schedule, which is essentially the same schedule we've had for God knows how long.
Yep, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. All other business to lawfully come before this meeting. Any other business?
Sir, from the Peter Valley, may I ask you one question?
Sure.
Almost all of the boards that meet in the town have citizen participation at the beginning
We do.
and at the end.
We do.
You don't have it at the end.
Well,
So we're asking if
Who's
it's possible for you to
that's plural. Who's where?
The royal opposition. No, sometimes you talk about something in a meeting and somebody would like to get up and talk about it.
Yeah. Well, you're doing it at the moment.
So, you let me talk, but it's not on your schedule.
You want to add it? You want to start in the future? You want to add it?
Sure.
I
Why
don't have
not?
a problem with that.
Why not? The longer we can stay, the better.
I'll make a
Start using that
The timer.
Exactly,
Yeah.
start using
With
that
the same
clock.
principle of 3 minutes.
I'll make a
limit,
motion
right?
that we add public participation to the end of the meeting
With a,
with a 3-minute time limit.
Whatever. Okay.
We need a second.
Second? Need a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
You got your end of the meetings discussion.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Bove? Okay. Moving to the last item on there is a discussion of the attorney-client communication concerning an open letter and draft. I think to do that, we're going to have to go into executive session with it, so I need a motion to recess. Recess the Board of Finance meeting at 8:25, 26. And then I need a member to second the motion.
I'll second the motion.
Who's making the motion?
Mark.
Mark did it? Mark made it, second.
tired for the long day,
And then
You gotta vote on that.
we're going to vote on it. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. And we need go into executive session.
Item D, discussion, make sure we get it on the record. Discussion of attorney-client communication concerning opinion letter, draft release, and complaints.
I second that one.
Okay. And also to include in the executive session, Mayor Falzarano, which he's the, ex officio, and Mr. Cutler, who have been dealing with this.